Shalawam. This is Adasabat Saiwan returning to the book of Revelation, and we're going to take a look at chapter 12. Now, this is going to be a hefty chapter. There's a lot going on in this chapter, a lot of revelation, lots of things coming to the surface, a lot of things that will bring understanding about the end times. Even I was sweetly surprised by the revelation that Ruach HaKadosh showed me, or revealed to me rather. And as usual, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get started with the review on the previous chapters so that we can have we can understand the series of events, the sequence of events. And according to the chapters revised, I did not removed or added anything. I just moved the chapters around, some of the chapters and some of the verses, because they were out of order. However, chapters 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5 were not out of order. Okay, so let's get started. Chapter 1, Revelation of Hamashiach. This is the glorified Hamashiach to Yochanan. Chapters 2 and 3, the letters of judgment to the 7 assemblies. Chapter 4, in the throne room of Yahweh. Chapter 5, who is worthy to open the book of seals, that is. Chapter 6, part 1, we looked at the 4 seals. Chapter 6, part 2, the woman and the dragon. Chapter 7, the reaping of the southern kingdom. Chapter 8, the rise of the 2 beasts. Chapter 9, part 1, the sifting of the northern kingdom begins. Chapter 9, part 2, the coming judgments of the 2 olive trees. Chapter 10, the second exodus of the northern kingdom begins. Chapter 11, the 2 woes, which will be the 2 trumpet judgment, trumpet number 5 and number 6. And then now we're going to look at the 7 thunders and the 7th trumpet. So let's get started. I'm going to read through the chapter first, and then we will go into the lesson. Verse 1. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth, and cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roars. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swore by him that lives forever and ever, who created heaven, and the things that therein are, and the earth, and the things that therein are, and the sea, and the things that which are therein, that there should be time no longer. But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of Allahayam should be finished, as he has declared to his servants and the prophets. And the voice which I heard from heaven spoke unto me again, and said, Go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel who stands upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel, and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up, and it shall make your belly bitter, but it shall be sweet in your mouth, sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand, and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. And he said unto me, You must prophesy again before many peoples, and nations, and tongues, and kings. Verse 12. And the 7th angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, The kingdom of this world are become the kingdoms of our Yahweh and of his Mashiach, and he shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders who sat before Allah Hayam on their seats fell upon their faces and worshipped Allah Hayam, saying, We give you thanks, O Yahweh Shaddai, who is and was and is to come, because you have taken to you your great power and have reigned. And the nations were angry, and your wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that you should give reward unto your servants the prophets and to the saints, and them that fear your name, small and great, and should destroy them which destroy the earth. Verse 16. And the temple of Allah Hayam was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail. Now we are nearing the end of the journey for the northern kingdom. Soon they will be in the land of Yashraal. Soon their long journey will be over. But this part of their journey will be peaceful and effortless on their part, because Allah Hayam will be their protector, their provider, and their guide, shielding them from the rest of the judgments until they reach our land. So, remember the land before them. They're in the wilderness, but the land before them will become like the Garden of Odan. So they will be walking in a perpetual garden all the way to the land of Yashraal, which will become like the Garden of Odan as well. So they are not going to see any more judgments. They're not going to hear anything more. They're just going to be walking in peace. So let's look at verse 1 and 2 of the revised chapter 12 of the book of Revelation. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea and his left foot on the earth. Now, compared to the demonic locusts and the evil horsemen from the previous chapter, this angel will appear brilliant, a perfect reflection of Allah Hayam, and his size will be gigantuous. The best description that Yochanan could use for the garment of this angel was to call it a cloud. When you think of a cloud, you think of a substance that is fluffy and incapable of being handled because it is not tangible. Yet at the same time, it is physical, as the eyes can see it. Now this is evident of other garments of angels and even of the garments of Hamashiach and Yahweh, which are described as bright, light, shining, and even as white as snow. Because the whiteness, which is the glory of Allah Hayam, is so brilliant, all they can say is it's like it's bright, or it's light, it's shining, it's like as white as snow. And this angel, by the way, is gigantuous. He is so big. He had 1 foot on the earth and 1 foot in the sea. He's huge. Right? So the thing is about angels, you have to understand, there are many different kinds of angels. Many different kinds. All right? We have angels that look like us, like men. And then we have angels that look like creatures with 4 faces and 6 wings, or 4 wings and feet like a calf. Those kind of angels. We even have angels that look like wheels within a wheel, or wheel within a wheel, and they have eyes all around. That is called an ophanim. It is not a spaceship. It is an angel that goes hand in hand with the cherubim. And the cherubim and the ophanim are responsible for the glory of Allah Hayam. They're the ones that bring the glory to the earth, and they're the ones that remove it. That's why when Ezekiel saw the cherubim and the ophanim They were removing the glory of Allah from the earth. All right, and they're the ones that are in the throne room of Allah. So let's look at Daniel chapter 7 verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. Okay, so there we have a description of the garment of Allah himself. He is also called the Ancient of Days because he has no age. He does not exist in time, so therefore there is no age. He was there before time began, before anything began. He was always there. Matthew chapter 28 verse 2, and behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of Yahweh descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat upon it. And his countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. So he was exuding the glory of Allah. Acts chapter 10 verse 30. And Cornelius said, 4 days ago I was fasting until this hour. And at the 9th hour I prayed in my house, and behold, a man stood before me in bright clothing, and said, Cornelius, your prayer is heard, and your alms are had in the remembrance in the sight of Allah. So Cornelius saw an angel who was in bright clothing. So let's look at one more scripture. Mark chapter 9 verse 1. And he said unto them, verily I say unto you, that there be some of them that stand here, which shall not taste of death, till they see the kingdom of Allah come with power. And after 6 days, Yahushua took with him Ka'apa'a, who is Peter, and Yaokab, who is James, and Yohanan, who is John, and led them up into a high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his raiment became shining, exceeding white as snow, so as no fuller on earth can white them. So no launderer on the earth can make these garments as white as Hamashiach's garment. His garment was shining and white as snow, and there's nothing, no laundry detergent, nothing that can make white be as white as his garment. Garments or raiment in the heavenly realm is nothing like our garments here on the earth. A heavenly garment reflects the glory of Allah, and it comes from the divine light within that flows outward to be like a garment in whatever quality that Allah deems it to be, whether bright, light, whiter than snow, shining, or like a cloud. Right? Adam and Hawa, before they transgressed, wore a garment of light that came from the divine light within them. So Adam and Hawa, before they transgressed the one law in the Garden of Eden, they were created in the image of Allah, and so they carried his glory. They were glory, and they wore a garment of glory. That's why when they transgressed that one law, they breached the covenant between them and Allah, and the light was shut off. And once that light was shut off, then they were naked. That's what the meaning of naked is in this instance. It wasn't just that they were physically naked, now become vulnerable, spiritually naked. All right? That garment of light housed them. And now that garment of light was gone. First book of Adam and Hawa, chapter 13, verse 1. Then when Allah, who is merciful and full of pity, heard Adam's voice, he said to him, O Adam, so long as the good angel was obedient to me, a bright light rested upon him and on his host. And he's speaking of Lucifer, and the third of angels that followed him. Remember, he was high up. He had a high rank in amongst the angels. So when he was a good angel and he was obedient to Alahayam, the light, the glory of Alahayam rested upon him. Verse 3. But when he transgressed my commandment, I dispossessed him of that bright nature, and he became dark, he became evil. Verse 4. And when he was in the heavens, in the realms of light, he knew nothing of darkness. But he transgressed, and I made him fall from the heavens onto the earth, and it was this darkness that came over him. And O Adam, while in my garden and obedient to me, that bright light rests upon you, also upon you. But when I heard of your transgression, I took from you that bright light. Yet of my mercy I did not turn you into darkness, but I made your body a body of flesh, over which I spread the skin, in order that it may bear cold and heat. So Adam, before he transgressed, him and Hawa, not Eve, Hawa, they were in the image of Alahayam. All right? They were light. They were so powerful that the angels trembled when they looked upon Adam and Hawa. After Adam and Hawa transgressed and they lost the light, now Adam and Hawa tremble when they look upon the angels, because they lost the glory. That's how powerful Adam and Hawa were. But they were deceived into thinking that they can get more glory. You see? But because of the mercy of Alahayam, because he created them to be in his image, he already knew that they were going to do this. Of course he did. He knew before he created everything in the earth and in the heavens, he knew that this was going to happen to his creation. So he already had a plan to bring them back. All right? That's why he gave them a body of flesh. He did not want to discard, like he discarded Satan and the third of the angels. He did not want to discard Adam and Hawa, because he knew he had a plan to bring their descendants and them too back to the garden, back to him. So in the meantime, the temporary fix is to give them a body of flesh, and now they have to go wear clothes. Right? They now have to go put clothes on their naked bodies, their physically naked bodies now, because they have flesh. But they didn't have flesh before. And along with this flesh, and because of their disobedience, came something called the sin nature. Because the flesh, this flesh that we have, is weak and is easily tempted, because it has unnatural desires. It is only when we are walking in righteousness and in holiness that we can bring this sin nature, which tempts this flesh, tempts us to sin, we bring it under subjection. It's the only way to bring our sin nature under subjection until the end of age, when he can completely remove it from within us. And that's what he will do. If you read the book of Adam and Hawa, they prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, please, we want to come back to the garden. Let us wash in the pure water, because the pure water removes the sin nature. And the Father said, no, you have now to bear the consequence of your actions. You have to live out the days now outside of the garden until it's time for you to be returned to the garden, you and your righteous descendants. And they will have light. But here's the good news, awesome news, because the light that Adam lost not only will we receive that, but we will also receive the light that Satan lost. So we will have an upgraded garment. It was given to Abraham and his seed forever. So that garment that once belonged to Lucifer is ours now. And this is the reason why we are going through what we're going through, and why the Most High is proving us. Because it's not just a matter of saying words. I believe in you. I worship you. You now have to walk in it. And you got to submit yourself to Allah and have faith in Him and worship Him and Him alone. Everything else should pale in comparison to Him. All right? Verse 8. And if I had let my wrath fall heavily on you, I should have destroyed you. And had I turned you into darkness, it would have been as if I had killed you. He did not want to kill his creation. He already knew what Adam and Hawa were going to do. And he could have stopped them. But then it would not allow them to pass the test. You see, when he created them and he gave them his glory, there was a reason why he put that tree of knowledge of good and evil next to the tree of life, to give them a choice. Are you going to be obedient to me? And by the way, the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil is called disobedience, rebellion. It's not an apple. It's called disobedience, rebellion. So the whole idea was to give them a choice. Give them the command, explain to them what will happen if they disobey, and see what they will do. And what did they do? They ignored the tree of life, which would have given them eternal life and upgraded them instantly. Because he wanted to do that, but he can't just throw things at us like that. We have to earn his rewards by believing in him and having faith in him and obeying him. Otherwise, become just like spoiled, rotten children. And he doesn't want spoiled, rotten children. He wants righteous, holy children. So he's not just going to throw things at us because he's so desperate to have us. No, he's not going to do that. Not at all. All right? So he could have destroyed them, but he knew they were going to do this. But he made plans. And the first step of his plan was to cover them in flesh. And then put them in garments, in the skins of animals, taught them how to do sacrifices. And then throughout the ages, he taught their offspring, that particular lineage that came through Abraham. Okay? Even Noah, he knew how to sacrifice because he learned from his forefathers. And then all the way through to the ones that made it into the wilderness in the first Exodus. And then the ones that were in the land of Yashwa'al. But Abraham became the progenitor for the 12 tribes of Yashwa'al. He is our official forefather that started the 12 tribes of Yashwa'al. It was him, then his son, Yatsahak, and then Yatsahak's son, Yaokab. And then from Yaokab, we have the 12 sons, all right, of Yashwa'al, where we got the 12 tribes of Yashwa'al. These are the selected ones from amongst all the tribes and nations on this earth. And it's through them that he has a covenant with. Through us. That he is chosen to have a covenant with. And then the final part of his plan Actually, no, not yet. Not quite the final yet. When our forefathers were in the wilderness, he established the sacrifices, another temporary measure in order for our forefathers can worship him and he can dwell in their midst. But that was only temporary, because the true sacrifice came through his son. His son became our eternal sacrifice, the lamb that was slain, the permanent solution to our sin problem, so that we can be permanently atoned as long as we believe in him. So the final stage now, the final stage is for us to walk in righteousness and in holiness by obeying his commandments and his laws, his statutes and his judgments, by having faith in Hamashiach. Because when we have faith in Hamashiach, we have faith in the Father. Can't ignore the Son and jump straight to the Father. Doesn't work that way. And when we do that, now it's accounted to us as righteousness. Now we are in covenant with Alahayam, and when he is ready, which is any day, well, I shouldn't say any day now, but soon, he will regather us, the remnant, the righteous remnant of the southern kingdom first, and then later on the northern kingdom. As you have, if you have watched my videos, you'll see that. That would be the permanent, the final stage of our redemption. Because once we are regathered, that's it. Never again will we have to go into slavery. And now he can cleanse us in that nice sweet water, that pure river water of, that pure sea of water. That's what it's called in the Bible. It's called something slightly different in the Apocrypha, but it's the same idea. It comes from the Garden of Eden. And when you bathe in it, it will completely eradicate sin and the sin nature. And we will be restored to be like him completely. Completely. That's what I'm telling you. These people that want substance, they want to come out with substance. They're waiting for substance. They're waiting for reparations. You cannot compare the blood money that these people want to throw at you to the light and glory that Alahayam has waiting for you. Can't compare. There's no comparison. So the ones that are waiting for reparations, good luck to them. All right? Because I know you're not going to get the glory. It is not his will for us to receive anything from these people. When he is ready, and it's the northern kingdom that will come out with substance, it will be the substance that he will give to them himself. How many times in the scriptures have you read where the Most High would tell the tribes, the 12 tribes, to destroy everything, even the people, the children, the cattle, the silver and the gold? Don't touch anything because it is polluted. And yet we want to handle polluted money. Blood money. Anything that these people have to give in the form of reparation has blood on it. That's why I said good luck, because if you run towards that, you're going to lose the glory of Alahayam. And you're going to perish. All right. Now, it's no wonder why angels are bright and shining and whiter than snow, as they are reflecting glory, the divine attribute of Alahayam, our creator, like Adam and Hawa did. Now, the description of the angel's garment that looks like he is clothed in a cloud further reveals to us that it is of a divine nature of what he is wearing. There is a rainbow above his head, an arc of light above his head, which is reflecting more glory of Alahayam. His face as the sun, meaning that his face is bright, like the sun. when it's shining in the fullness of its brightness. Have you ever tried to look at the sun when it's high in the sky? You can't look at the sun. You'll go blind. It's so bright. Now, which again is more glory. So that's how glory is. The glory of Al-Hayam is so bright. It's powerful. And his feet are like pillars of fire. And this fire is also showing us that he is filled with the glory of Al-Hayam. Remember when Yochanan saw Hamashiach in Revelation chapter 1, his feet were like burnished brass. That's because he's glowing. He's glowing with melatonin. The melatonin in him was glowing, right? There you go. All right. Okay. The very same glory that the angels have and the glory that Adam and Hawa had is the same glory that is waiting for us. Except after all that we have endured, at the end of it all, we will receive an even greater glory, much greater than the most powerful angels. Therefore, all that we're going through will not be in vain. So sometimes it feels like, how much longer, how much more do we have to go through? And you think, well, I don't know if I can make another step forward. You feel like you're being pushed back 10 every step you make forward. And it's a struggle sometimes. I mean, there's some good days and then there's some days that are not so great, right? And you wonder, okay, like, why isn't this finished already? All right. Well, here's the reason why. He has to sift us. He has to sift us to prove us. He has to sift us and prove us, to prove what is in our hearts towards him. All right. This is the reason why he is causing us to endure. That is called building endurance. It's building patience. And it's also building faith. I ask him every day, how much longer? How much longer? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Oh my goodness. And I do that because, when you look around you and you see all the evil and wickedness, I mean, I already know based on the signs, because he said he'll give us signs. He told the multitudes, the ones that were asking for signs, he said, when it's going to be foul weather. You look at the sky, right? If it's red in the morning, it's going to be foul weather. If it is red in the evening, it's going to be good weather. How is it that you're asking me for signs? Right? So therefore, the signs are going to be evident for us to know when we are drawing closer and closer to being regathered. And I'm saying this right now, the signs are there. And we're being drawn closer and closer to that beautiful moment when we be all taken together. All right. Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 26, and above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it. And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within it, from the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward. And I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and it had brightness round about it, as the appearance of the bow. Again, you see that arc, the arc of light that is in the cloud in the day of rain. So like a rainbow, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of Yahweh. So the likeness of the glory of Yahweh is like a rainbow, a brightness, a bright arc of light. It is brightness. It's also fire. It is also white as snow and shining. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spoke. This massive angel had a little book open in his hand. He is so enormous that he is able to stand 1 foot on the earth and the other foot is on the sea. Despite the size of this angel, he is also defying the laws of physics according to the earth. because with such great height comes great weight. His feet should have been sinking in the earth and in the sea, but he seems to be light like a cloud. Because this angel is of the heavenly realm, the laws of physics will not apply to the heavenly hosts. Therefore, he will appear standing without sinking. And that is something to behold. Verse 3 and 4 of Revelation chapter 12 revised, and cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roars, and when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And I have that in blue highlight because this portion of the lesson, the study, is going to be so amazing. It was amazing for me. Okay? Maybe it may not be amazing to you, but it is amazing. Verse 4, and when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. Okay. This enormous angel that is seen upon the earth cries out loud with the roar of her lion, which will cause the 7 thunders in heaven to respond. Just like the angel who roars, these 7 thunders are the voices of 7 angels, who we know as the 7 archangels of Alahayam. So that's who were making the utterance, was the 7 archangels that sounded like 7 thunders. Let's look at 2 Baruch chapter 59 verse 1. And the 4th bright waters you have seen are the birth of Masha, who's Moses, Ahawaran, who is Aaron, and Mariam, and Yahawashawa'o, who is Joshua, by the way, because he has the same name as Hamashiach. The sons of Nawan, who is Nun, and Caleb, who is Caleb, and of all those like them. For at that time the lamp of the eternal law shone on all those who sat in darkness, which announced to them that believed the promise of their reward, and to them that denied the torment of fire which is reserved for them. So Baruch was given the end times prophecy, as well as Ozariah, who is Ezra. Abraham was given a glimpse of the end times. Masha was also given a glimpse of the end times. The Most High did not hide what was coming to his people. And he gave them the prophecies, right, so that we will know what is coming. And not only will we know what is coming, but to know that if we don't get our houses in order, we are going to perish. We can't claim ignorance if we already knew what it was coming and we still disobeyed him. All right? This is the reason why he reveals his prophecies. He reveals his thoughts, his minds, his plans, and his purpose to his people. Because they cannot go to him at the end of the age when he is ready to judge us, and we will say to him, well, we didn't know, you didn't tell us anything. Then the fault will be on him. But because he has revealed his word to us, we have no excuse at all. No, we don't. Now, the problem is, he has given us the word in the form of prophecies, parables, but he will not give us the understanding. It is not given to everyone to understand his word, to understand his prophecy. And this is the downfall of our people. They go by popular opinion and commentators. All right? They go by concordance and breaking down a word. And the word of Alahayam is divine. And it's also hidden. And the only way that we can understand the word that he has spoken is by allowing his Ruach to reveal it to us on the inward part. And if Ruach HaKodesh is not revealing prophecies to us, then we will remain ignorant. And that will lead anyone to the broad way to destruction. So he is revealing to Baruch here all the things that are going to happen. Verse 3. But also the heavens at that time were shaken from their place, and those who were under the throne of Hashaddai were disturbed when he was taking Masha to himself, for he showed him many reproofs along with the principles of the law and the completion of the times. He showed Masha the ending of the times, the last days, as he also showed to you, Baruch. So he showed Baruch the same things too. He also showed the pattern of Shalawam and its size, in the pattern of which the sanctuary of the present time was to be made. But then also he showed him the size of the fire, the depths of the abyss, the weight of the winds, the number of the drops of rain, how much of his anger he holds back, and the amount of long suffering he has, and the truth of his judgment. He revealed everything through his prophets and his servants. Verse 6. And the origin of wisdom, the wealth of understanding, and the wellspring of knowledge. And that's the problem that we have. We do not have the wisdom of Alahayam. We do not have his understanding. Neither do we have his knowledge. The knowledge that we have is knowledge come from man, from the devil himself. Knowledge from the tree of knowledge. That is knowledge. All right? We don't have understanding of his word. We don't have understanding of truth. And this is the problem, the downfall for our people. Verse 7, the height of the air and the greatness of paradise, the end of the ages and the beginning of judgment. The amount of the offerings, the earths which are yet to come. And why the word earths, the word earth is plural, is because when Hamashiach comes, the earth is going to be reformed. Evil will be vanquished for those 1,000 years. And after his reign of 1,000 years, and the rest of the devils are thrown into the pit of, the lake of fire, then we're going to have a new earth. So that's two. All right. The old earth and the new earth. And that's the one that is to come. Also, the old reformed earth is yet to come. We're not reformed yet. The earth is not reformed yet. We still have devils and demons and Nephilim spirits running there everywhere. And their agents along with them. But once they are brought under control and cast into the lake of fire to be destroyed forever, and the last Satan is in the abyss, then righteousness will reign on the earth. So that's when the earth is going to be reformed. All right. Verse 9, the mouth of Gehenna, which is hell, the place of vengeance, the place of faith, the place of hope. Verse 10, the visions of future torment, the multitude of the angelic host, the flaming host, the splendor of the lightning, which will be the cherubim. You know, the cherubim, when they move, it's like lightning. All right. And the voice of thunders. The voice of thunders are talking about the seven thunders, which are the archangels, the order of the captains of the angels. So that's how we know that the voice of the thunders, or the voices of thunders, are in fact archangels, one of the highest order of angels in heaven. The treasuries of light and the changing of times and the searching of the law, these are the bright forth waters which you have seen. So there I wanted you to see the voices of the thunders are angels. Now when these seven thunders spoke, now we're getting now to the sweet meat here. Yochanan was about to write what they said, but he was instructed to seal up the things that they spoke and not to write them down. The revelation of what they spoke is found in the following verse, funny enough. It was not for Yochanan to write down what he heard uttered by the seven thunders, as it was meant to be a mystery that can only be revealed by Ruach HaKodesh when he is ready to give the revelation. So you would never have thought that the answer to what they have said will be in the next verse, right? It has to be revealed to you. Although Yochanan did not write down what he heard from them, yet he wrote down what the angel said. Why? Because what he heard the seven thunders uttered were the actual commands given to them by Ha'olah Yawan to be spoken at the end of time only. Let me repeat that. What he heard, the seven thunders uttered, were the actual commands given to them by Ha'olah Yawan to be spoken at the end of time only, which will be the time appointed. And it is not given to us to know what these actual words were. All right? So what the seven thunders uttered were the commands given to Elohim to cause something to happen on the earth. Right? And that's why Yochanan was instructed not to write it down, because it was not meant to know what these words were, right? And will be, because remember, he was in a vision. So he saw the end times, but the end times had not come yet. So he was instructed not to write down those words because it is not given for people to know what they said. That's why for a long time we didn't know what the seven thunders said. He said, seal it up and write them not. But now that we're coming close to the end times, these seven thunders will utter some things to bring about some changes on the earth. All right? That's a mystery. Okay. However, Elohim still allowed us to know what was spoken, but it is not apparent, as the answer is hidden in plain sight. He wanted us to know, but he always hides his truth in plain sight. That seeing you will see and not understand. Hearing you will hear, and you still will not understand. All right? This is the way of Elohim, to have truth right before our eyes, yet we can read it and not understand it. It is for this reason why Hamashiach spoke in parables. And just like prophecies, parables must be divinely revealed inwardly to be understood. That's the reason why Hamashiach always spoke in parables. And when he was alone with his disciples, then he'll explain it to them. But you know what? Even his disciples didn't understand most of what he had said. The understanding only came after they received Ruach HaKodesh, the day of Pentecost. Some of the things they understood, but the greater number of things that he taught them, they had no understanding. That's why he kept saying to them, "O ye of little faith." All right? Matthew chapter 13, verse 10. And the disciples came and said unto him, "Why do you speak unto them in parables?" He answered and said unto them, "Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever has, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundant." So if you are given some knowledge, if the Most High cause his Ruach Kodesh to reveal a prophecy to you, and you have understanding, then he's going to keep revealing more and more and more and more. You know why? Because with each revelation, with each truth. You're being fed spiritually, and you become stronger, and your faith becomes stronger, and you can receive more. Think about a child. You have a baby, all right? Are you going to give baby grown-up food? No. They start with milk. From milk, they get pablum. From pablum, then they get the little mushy food, mashed peas. And once they start growing their little peggers, then they can now eat grown-up food, but not everything. They have to eat soft food, otherwise they can choke. All right? Once they become older and more mature, and they're able to handle grown-up food, then you start to give them grown-up food. But they have to have their full set of teeth in, and they must be able to exercise maturity, right? Because you have some children, they might be old in age, they might have all their teeth, but they're not mature to eat because there's some sort of disability, all right? That will stop them from being able to eat food, grown-up food, without choking. Some of them, they can't eat it because they'll choke. So depending on the maturity of your child, then you start to feed them food that is adequate to their maturity. And it's the same thing with us as people, as children of Allah Hayam. You have the newborn babes, they can't handle meat. They have to drink milk. All right? But if you remain a child forever and you don't want to eat grown-up food, spiritual food, or you're dependent on someone's regurgitated garbage, then you will never be able to handle the word of Allah Hayam. You will never be able to handle his truth, because it will choke you. All right? So that's why he gives us a little and then a little, so that we become stronger and better and more mature to be able to handle the big stuff. All right? But whosoever has not, from him shall be taken away even that he has. So if you don't have anything, what else can be taken from him? All right? Except his life. So if you have not, meaning if you don't have the truth, if you don't have the truth, then you're going to perish. This is what he's saying. I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm just laughing at the fact that, we read these scriptures over and over again, and sometimes you kind of glaze over them, and then all of a sudden the Father hits you with an understanding. All right? It has to do with spiritual maturity. If you're not spiritually mature enough to receive more and more and more from him, and you have nothing at the end of the day, then you're going to perish, because he's going to take your life away. Okay, verse 13. Therefore speak I unto them in parable, because they see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Yeshua, who is Isaiah, who said, by hearing you shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing you shall see and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, meaning it has grown wicked. And their ears are dull of hearing, they're deaf. And their eyes they have closed. So 3 things that will cause a person not to understand the word of Allah Hayam is if their hearts are like stone because of wickedness. You have to get that heart become like flesh so that he can circumcise it. And if you have cotton wool in your ears so you can't hear, you got to get that wool out. Or if you have scales over your eyes so you cannot see, you have to allow him to remove those scales. Otherwise you will remain blind, deaf, and ignorant. Lest at any time they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears and should understand with their heart and should be converted, and I should heal them. So that's where your healing comes from, when you understand the truth. Because you see from when you read, and you can read between the lines, because Ruach HaKadosh is teaching you, and you're also hearing as he is teaching you, and your heart is open and ready to receive the truth. All right? A lot of people don't want the truth because the truth is an inconvenience. It means you have to upturn your life. You have to get rid of things that you want to hold on to. The sin. I don't want to give up my boyfriend. I don't want to give up my girlfriend. I don't want to give up this. I don't want to give up smoking. I don't want to give up partying. They don't want to give up things for Allah Hayam. They want to worship him and worship the devil at the same time. It doesn't work that way. And that's why he will not send his Ruach to open your eyes, open your ears, and turn that heart of stone to flesh. Verse 17, for verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which you see and have not seen them, and to hear those things which you hear and have not heard them. So many people would have been happy to be living in the days of his disciples, Hamashiach's disciples, because they got the word straight from the Father's mouth. Daniel chapter 12 verse 4. But you, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. So even Daniel was instructed to seal the book, shut up the words, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. So that you can take that two ways. The knowledge from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that knowledge, and then the knowledge of Allah Hayam is going to increase. But the people that are eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil because they're rebellious, they're the ones that are going to be running to and fro, looking for knowledge. Looking for knowledge. We're supposed to be like trees planted by the rivers of water. There's no place in the scripture that we need to go and run anywhere. The Spirit comes to us. Ruach HaKadosh comes to us. You don't need to go running here, there, and everywhere looking for truth. He brings it to us. Even Daniel was given the instruction to seal up the prophecy and its interpretation, yet he wrote it down. Therefore, sealing has nothing to do with hiding the words of the prophecy or its interpretation, but rather the revelation of the prophecy will remain hidden until the time of its revealing. The revelation given by Ruach HaKadosh in his time appointed will also come with the understanding, and now the prophecy is on seal. And that's why many people before could not understand the book of Revelation. It was not time for it to be revealed. It was not time for the prophecies to be unsealed. When Allah Hayam instructed his servants to seal up his prophecies, it was him who actually sealed. I put that in the wrong tense there. It was actually him that did the sealing by not revealing to us the knowledge and the understanding of what he had spoken. So he's the one who did the sealing. So when he told his prophets to seal up the book and shut up the words, he was the one who did it. Man has no power to seal up the word of Allah Hayam. He's the one who did it himself. The word of Allah Hayam is divinely derived and must be divinely revealed. So without Ruach HaKadosh, we have no chance of understanding the prophecies or the parables. Luke chapter 24 verse 44, and he said unto them, these are the words which I spoke unto you while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moshe and in the prophets and in the Psalms concerning me. Then opened he their understanding that they might understand the scripture. So there, Hamashiach, before he left the earth, he opened up the disciples' understanding that they will understand the scriptures. And said unto them, verse 46, thus it is written, and thus it behooved Mashiach to suffer and to rise from the dead the third day, and that repentance and remission of sins should be preached in his name among all nations, beginning at Jerusalem. And you are witnesses of these things, and behold, I send the promise of my Abba upon you, but tarry you in the city of Jerusalem until you be endued with power from on high. So that power is from Ruach HaKodesh, his Holy Spirit. He's the one who empowers us so that we can see, hear, and understand with our hearts. So he gave them enough understanding for them to go the next step, which is to wait, to tarry in Jerusalem for Ruach HaKodesh, who was going to now endue them with power from on high. All right. Matthew chapter 8, verse 16. When evening was come, they brought unto him many that were possessed with devils, and he cast out the spirits with his word and healed all that were sick. So Hamashiach, there are times when the words that he spoke to those that were diseased or sick or paralyzed, the words that he spoke were recorded. But there were many times when the word that he spoke was not recorded, because it's not given for us to know those words, right? It's not given for us to know. So now let's go to the next few verses to find out what these seven thunders have spoken. Verse 5. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swore by him that lives forever and ever, who created heaven and the earth and the things that therein are, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and the things that are therein, that there should be time no longer. How many times have you read that, but did you understand what that means? Verse 7. But in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery, the prophecy of Alahayam should be finished, as he has declared to his servants and the prophets. So these are the prophecies that he spoke through his servants and the prophets. Now, here is where the revelation of what Yochanan heard was uttered by the seven thunders. Now, he's given us an idea of what was spoken, but the actual words were not recorded because it was not for that time when Yochanan was alive. It is a time that is coming, the end times. First, the angel gave praises to Ha'olah Yawan for all that he had created, and then he declared that time will be no longer. This is truly a very pivotal point of time for the earth and its inhabitants, as we rely on time. However, since the fourth trumpet, we see that time will be diminishing because the inhabitants of the earth will be in the process of being prepared to live without time. We will look a bit more closely at this phenomenon concerning the cessation of time when we study the seventh trumpet. Now, bear in mind, beneath the dome, there's time. Above the dome is eternity. When Adam and Hawa were in the Garden of Eden, they were living in eternity. After they were cast out of the garden and they were living in the land of Elda because of their transgression, now they were living in time, no longer in eternity. For the first time, they're feeling the sun on their bodies. They're feeling heat. They're feeling cold. They're witnessing light. They're witnessing darkness. They never had to experience that before in the Garden of Eden because it was a perpetual day. There was no sun, but the light of Alahayam was in the garden. And because they too were light, they didn't need any light. They didn't need the sun or the moon. So the Garden of Eden, and that's where the original sanctuary is located, the sanctuary of Allah Hayam. And because he is there, he is the light. So what is going to happen now, because he is getting ready to reform everything, to bring back his glory to the earth, so that, to get rid of evil and the evil entities and the agents of Satan, so that righteousness will reign on his earth once again. And starting first with the 1,000 years of his son, Hamashiach. So what he is doing now, when the fourth trumpet sounded, time diminished by 8 hours. Okay? So days have been shortened because he is getting rid of the sun. He's going to get rid of the sun. He's going to get rid of the moon. There'll be no more time when Hamashiach comes for the 1,000 years. There'll be no more time. There will be no need for time. There'll be no need for the sun. There'll be no need for the moon, because we don't need to sleep. Do you know why we need to sleep? Because of this flesh. This flesh is very weak. It needs to sleep. It needs to eat. It needs to be bathed. Okay? You need to take care of this body, otherwise it falls apart. But in our new and glorified bodies, we will not need to sleep. We eat only because it is a pleasure and it's part of our worship to eat. It's part of our enjoyment. We'll need to drink because we're not going to get thirsty, but we will drink because it's a pleasure. All right? A healthy pleasure, a spiritual pleasure. Okay? So our bodies and the needs of our bodies will be completely different from how it is right now. There'll be no sicknesses, there'll be no diseases, there'll be nothing. And there'll be no old age either. So if you're kind of aging right now and you're regathered, guess what happens to your body? You're renewed. You become a young man or a young woman again. I'll save that for the ending of the book of Revelation. All right. So this is why time needs to diminish. We will look a bit. Oh, I read that already. The next thing that these 7 thunders will utter is to proclaim the ending of the mystery of Al Hayam. So there are the voices commanded by Ha'ola Yawan to bring about the ending of time. When they utter the words, time will stop. All right? And also to proclaim, finally, the mystery of Al Hayam is completed, and we're going to see what that mystery is. The mystery of Al Hayam are his prophecies, which he had spoken through his prophets and his servants like Yochanan. Yochanan was not a prophet, he was an apostle, yet he penned the prophecy of the book of Revelation. The mystery of Al Hayam declares his son, his people, the 12 tribes of Yashraal, and how his son Hamashiach would redeem them to Ha'aba through his death and resurrection. It also speaks intensely about the regathering of his chosen people from the 4 corners of the earth. First, he will start with the southern kingdom, and then lastly, he will regather the northern kingdom. Finally, when the northern kingdom have made it into our land, Yashraal, then will all of his prophecies concerning these very significant events will be fulfilled, will be finished. And then the 7 thunders will declare, it is finished. We are the mystery to the world. That's why people don't know who we are. We don't even know. Some of us don't even know who we are, who they are. who we are. And Hamashiach is an even greater mystery to this world because the truth has been hidden from the world purposely. That's why they're worshiping gods that look like them. And they will never worship a God that looks like us. 2nd Baruch chapter 81 verse 1. But regarding consolation, listen to my word. I was grieving regarding Shalawam, and I prayed for mercy from Ha'olah Yawan and said, how long will these things last for us? Will we always have these evils on us? Isn't that what we pray all the time? Are we going to always have these evils upon us? Oh my, oh my, oh my. Verse 4. Shaddai acted according out of the multitude of his mercies and according to the vastness of his compassion. He revealed to me his word so that my suffering would be relieved. He showed me visions that I should not again endure anguish. He made known to me the mystery of the times and the advent of the hours he showed me. So there are the mystery of the times, which will be the end times, the prophecies concerning the end times, and the advent of the hours. The times, the years leading up to the very final completion of the age. Same book, 2nd Baruch chapter 82 verse 1. Therefore, my brethren, I have written to you that you may comfort yourselves regarding the multitude of tribulations. You know that our Maker will certainly avenge us and do to our enemies according to all that they have done to us. The end which Ha'olah Yawan will make is very near, will bring his mercy, and the final result of his judgment is by no means far off. So this is telling us that as we get closer to the end, we know that Ha'olah Yawan is going to avenge us. Some people believe that he's going to avenge us while we're still in the land of our captivity. That is erroneous. He is going to take us out first, and then he is going to deal with the people on this earth, the inhabitants on this earth. Why will he punish the nations while we're still living amongst them? Doesn't make any sense. He's going to take his people out of the way first and then punish the inhabitants on the earth, the Gentile nations. And that is not by no means far off. That time is drawing near and near. He is the one that is going to avenge us. We don't have to do anything. Okay, so let's look at verse 8 and 9 of Revelation chapter 12 revised. And the voice which I heard from heaven spoke unto me again and said, go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel who stands upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, give me the little book. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up. And it shall make your belly bitter, but it shall be sweet in your mouth, sweet as honey. Now, to understand what is written in this little book and who it is for, we have to go to the book of Ezekiel, who had to eat a book also. He ate a roll of a book. Ezekiel chapter 2, verse 8. But you, son of man, hear what I say unto you. Do not be rebellious like that rebellious house. Open your mouth and eat that I give you. And when I looked, behold, a hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein. And he spread it before me, and it was written within and without, meaning inside and outside. And there was written therein lamentations, mourning, and woe. So that's what's written in the book that Yawachanan ate. Lamentations, mournings, and woes. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 1. Moreover, he said unto me, son of man, eat what you find, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Yashraal. The house of Yashraal here is the northern kingdom that were still, some of our people were still nearby. Not all of them. There were still a few scattered nearby that Ezekiel was sent to speak to them. Just like when Hamashiach came to, when Hamashiach was born and he started his ministry and he sent his apostles out, his disciples, and he said, go not in the way of the Samaritans, but go to the lost sheep of the house of Yashraal. Who was he speaking about? Because the southern kingdom was already with him. Hearing the word, he was speaking of the northern kingdom that were scattered. Some of them were scattered nearby. There were a few sprinklings of our people scattered nearby. Verse 2, so I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause your belly to eat, and fill your bowels. Now, when he talks about belly and bowels, this is heart. It has to do with the heart. Do you know there's some people that when they hear bad news, that will cause their heart to grieve, that automatically your stomach and your belly goes into an uproar and you got to run to the bathroom? That's the reason why he's given this imagery, all right? Because it's more of a heart issue. Because what is affecting the heart affects your abdomen, your belly, your bowels. For some people, not all people, but generally it affects you. For some people, if they are going through if their hearts are grieved, they can't eat. They lose their appetite. So that's also affecting your bowels, affecting your belly. So he said unto me, Son of man, cause your belly to eat, and fill your bowels with this roll that I give you. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. And he said unto me, Son of man, go, get you unto the house of Yashraal, and speak with my words unto them. For you are not sent to a people of a strange speech and of a hard language, but to the house of Yashraal. I'm sending you to your people. I'm not sending you to foreigners. Verse 6, not to many people of a strange speech and of a hard language, whose words you cannot understand. Surely had I sent you to them, if I had sent you to a people of a strange speech and a hard language, surely they would have hearkened unto you. But the house of Yashraal will not hearken unto you, for they will not hearken unto me. For all the house of Yashraal are impudent and hard-hearted. And there goes my point when I say to people that the northern kingdom is not coming out with the southern kingdom. And the southern kingdom is not going anywhere with the northern kingdom. They are impudent and hard-hearted. Why? They have been scattered the longest from the land. And even back then, with Ezekiel, they didn't even want to hear anything from Elohim. And these ones that are talking about, oh yeah, the 12 tribes are going into the wilderness and we're all going to hack it out together there. You're going to hack one another out. Or hack one another up. That's what you're going to do. They're hard-hearted. And they're impudent. They got to go through some serious judgments to wake them up. To cause them to choose whom they will serve. Or they will perish. All right? Okay. Just like Ezekiel, Yehochanan had to eat a book of judgments. If we recalled in the previous study, Yehochanan had to measure the temple and the altar and the worshippers therein. Now, this was the judgment of the northern kingdom. However, the southern kingdom is still to glean and learn from these judgments. That we all must match our perfect example, who is Hamashiach. So that's what the judgment was about. The measurement of the temple, the altar, and worshippers therein. It was to tell us that how Hamashiach is, we must become. He was the temple not made with hands, and he was perfect in all his ways, and we must be like him. And even though that judgment was directed, or will be directed, to the northern kingdom, we today, the southern kingdom, still have to learn from these prophecies. All right? The prophecies, all the prophecies in the Bible are meant for all 12 tribes, even though it was directed to either the southern kingdom or the northern kingdom or the 12 tribes in total. All right. He is the perfect temple, and he is likened to the altar when we believe what he did to atone us. We covered all this in the previous lesson, by the way. When we become as he is, then we will be true worshippers of Allah Hayam. However, unlike Ezekiel, Yahuwahanan was in prison. Therefore, this book will serve its purpose in a different way, as it is intended for a future generation or future generations as well. When Ezekiel prophesied judgment to the northern kingdom, who is identified as the house of Yashraal, he was instructed to speak to them, those that were scattered nearby. But Allah Hayam knew that they would not listen to his prophet because they were hard-hearted, just like we are today. The southern kingdom also received their judgments from Yeshaiah, Jeremiah, and a number of other prophets. And they too are stiff-necked like the northern kingdom. So our forefathers of the southern kingdom, when Yeshaiah, Jeremiah, and all the other prophets prophesied to them, they were stiff-necked as well, stubborn. But with Yahuwahanan, all that he had written, when read only by its intended recipients, the truth will be revealed to them, although generations away, which will include us today. As we are guided to the Bible, we are also guided to take heed to its prophecies, past, present, and future. They are our roadmap to eternal life in Allah Hayam. So everything that Yahuwahanan has written down, because they're judgments and the ones that are pertaining to us, not the world, but the ones that are pertaining to us, we are still supposed to take heed and apply the truth to our hearts, apply the truth to our inward parts, so that we do not sin against Allah Hayam. We do not become rebellious and disobedient to him. Okay, verse 10 of the book of Revelation, revised. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey, and as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. So his heart was bitter. And he said unto me, you must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. Now, if Yahuwahanan is in prison in the Isle of Patmos, how can he go and prophesy to many peoples, nations, tongues, and kings? He never left the prison. He died there. When Yahuwahanan ate the book of prophecy, it was honey in his mouth, but bitter in his belly. And belly here speaking of his heart. These expressions, honey in his mouth, but bitter in his belly, are prophetic to help us to understand a deeper revelation of the mind of Allah Hayam. Now, Yahuwahanan was an apostle imprisoned for his testimony of Hamashiach. Therefore, any word given to him to eat will be sweet like honey to him, because of his love for Allah Hayam. So anything that we absorb, sometimes and I've said this, truth is a bitter pill for some people to swallow. But if you love Allah Hayam, you want him to convict you. All right? You want him to correct you. And whatever he speaks to you will be sweetness to you. Even though it makes you cringe a little bit because, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did that. I need to repent. It will cause you to cringe. But in the case here with Yahuwahanan, the sweetness comes because he is living a righteous and holy life. So the words that are given to him to write is sweet. Because that's exactly what it was that Allah Hayam was given to him. He was downloading his prophecies in Yahuwahanan, so that when it was time for him to write these things down, he can write them down without error. All right? Let's go on. However, because of the stiff-neckedness of the people to whom this word is to be delivered, and knowing that it will not be received in the manner in which it is to be received, it caused grief in the heart of Yochanan. So he knew when he wrote down these prophecies, when he wrote down the words of Al-Hayam, although they are sweetness to him because he loved him so much, he was in love, and he still is in love with Hamashiach. He was the one who laid on Hamashiach's bosom. All right? So he loved anything that came from the mouth of Al-Hayam. But the grief came to him because he knew that not everyone will receive the truth. Many, as a matter of fact, will not receive the truth. And that grieved him in his heart. That's why it was bitter to his belly. The knowledge that many of our brethren throughout the ages that have read his writings, whether the epistles or the prophecy, the book of Revelation, would not receive it. And because they will not receive the word of Al-Hayam, they will perish. And it caused him to grieve. Caused him, his belly to be bitter. Yochanan will die in prison, but the word that he received was written down for our edification. So it was downloaded into him when he ate that book, and he wrote it down so that it will pass through the ages, through the generations for our edifications. Edification, singular. It is the thought that many will not receive what he had written down that is the cause of the grief, the exasperation in his heart, that is interpreted as bitter in his belly. So bitter does not mean bitterness, but it means exasperation, grief. Grief. Now the prophecy before peoples, nations, and tongues and kings are in reference to our people who will read this prophecy penned by him. The 12 tribes are scattered throughout the world, living in many different nations, speaking the languages of the countries where we live. Kings are leaders, those in authority or in high places. So something to consider. These few verses about the book and Yochanan having to eat it cannot mean the northern kingdom at the moment when they will be arriving at our land. Remember, only the redeemed righteous of the northern kingdom will be now entering into the land of Yashua. So it was not intended for the northern kingdom. The southern kingdom is already gone. All right? So it definitely is not for us. And I have written here, for these are the righteous remnant already judged. So the northern kingdom is already judged. After the fourth trumpet judgment, they were sealed to prevent them from going through any more judgments, because now all the rebels were purged out of them. All of them. So now these are the righteous remnant. So it was not meant, it's not meant for them at that point of time. And it's definitely wasn't meant for the southern kingdom, because the southern kingdom is gone. And it's not for the Gentile nations either. Rather, these verses are for the 12 tribes of Yashraal, the southern kingdom, and the northern kingdom as ongoing judgments. So even right now, as we speak, as we are reading the Bible, these judgments are here to correct us and to direct us. It's for here and now. For the northern kingdom, when they're awakened and they read the words in the prophecies, it's for them there and then. After they've gone through their judgments and they're sealed, then it's over. No more judgments for us. We are to receive the word of Allah Hayam now in the form of judgments, whether the letters to the 7 assemblies or any of the other warnings found in the prophecies, the end time prophecies. All right? Even in the Apocrypha. As we are reading and studying these prophecies with their judgments, we are to receive them and apply them to our hearts and take heed. However, many of our people will not take heed to the judgments because they are in a stupor and they are hard-hearted and stiff-necked. And that's why Yochanan, he knew. And that's why he was grieved. How about us today? We're preaching the truth. We're sending out the truth out there, and people want to ignore the truth. They just want entertainment. They just want entertainment. They want their five senses to be entertained. They don't care about the truth. All right? This is happening right now. We have many hard-hearted and stiff-necked brethren out there. And they're stuck on this second Exodus thing. They're waiting for a second Exodus. In the meantime, they're eating and drinking and doing what they want to do without repentance or without conviction. Later in the book of Revelation, when the whore is to be judged, another such warning is proclaimed for the same purpose, to alarm us to heed to the warnings of Allah Hayam, or else we will perish. You remember that part of the scripture when Allah Hayam sends his angel to warn the people, get out of her, my people. Otherwise you will partake of her plagues. That was not for then, that is for now. He's telling us now, get out of her, meaning the whore of Babylon, which is a pagan religious system. It is active now, but it's not apparent just yet. It's not pulling all its pieces together. But right now we have a lot of pagan religions on this earth. Soon it'll be one pagan religion that everyone is going to worship under. And now the Father is saying to us, come out of her. Get out of paganism. Get out of idolatry. Get out of fornicating, meaning worshiping other gods. Get out of her. And the plagues that will, and if we don't, we're going to partake of the same plagues that will plague the whore. And what plagued the whore? Fire. Fire. She was burnt. So what he's telling us, if we don't come out while we can, we're going to perish in the fire, where the devils and the demons and the Nephilim spirits and the agents of Satan, the earthly agents of Satan, are going to burn forever. All right. We can look through the scriptures and find that there are warnings from the prophets and the saints and even Hamashiach that were not limited to those people at that time. They are also intended for the future generations of Yasha'al, all 12 tribes. We are to receive the revelation of these prophecies as knowledge to be applied to our hearts, affecting change within us. If we don't, then we will remain like our forefathers, stiff-necked and hard-hearted. And like them, we can also perish. Don't think because you are Hebrew Israelite that you're saved. You're saved from the wrath of Allah Hayam. Hebrew Israelites it's a religion. That's a religious title. All right? And a lot of people hang their hats on that title. And they're not in relationship with Allah Hayam. They're in a religion. And they're doing this, and that because it makes them feel good that they're doing all these outward things. But on the inward parts, they're like dead man bones. They're like a sepulcher with dead man bones and empty, void of life and water, sails without wind, clouds without water. Hosea chapter 4 verse 6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I will also reject you, that you shall be no priest to me. Saying that you have forgotten the law of Al-Hayak, I will also forget your children. We are to be to him as kings and priests. And if we reject his knowledge, because we reject his son, and we reject his son, we will automatically reject him and his Ruach HaKadash. His Ruach Kadash. And when we reject all, in fact, it just starts with one, rejecting Hamashiach. or we reject his commandments. When we reject the commandments, or we only pick and choose what we want to obey, then we are rejecting Hamashiach. And then it keeps building from there. Then we reject Halahayam, then we reject his spirit. And he will reject you. Okay, verse 12 of Revelation chapter 12, revised, sorry. And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Yahweh and of his Mashiach, and he shall reign forever and ever. We see from the previous lesson that the two witnesses were killed after they fulfilled the prophesying for 3.5 years. Then 3.5 days later, they were resurrected to life, because those two witnesses came to clean the earth as well as Yashra'al, the land of Yashra'al. There will be an earthquake in the land of Yashra'al, and finally it will be cleansed of all its filthiness and its squatters, meaning the people that are living there that are not our people. At the conclusion of the sixth trumpet event, the proclamation of the cessation of time will occur. All right? So at the ending of the judgment of the sixth trumpet, then the proclamation of the cessation of time will come, will be proclaimed. And this will occur. And the mystery of Alahayam will also be proclaimed to be finished. Then the seventh trumpet will sound, and with it comes the proclamation that the kingdom of Alahayam is soon to be restored forever, with Hamashiach as our Malak, or king, coming to reign on the earth forever. So the seventh trumpet is going to be sounded very close to the proclamation of the cessation of time, and the mystery of Alahayam is finished. So when those two things are proclaimed, then the seventh trumpet will sound. This event is just 7 more plagues away, which will come quickly and fiercely at this point in time. So the event I'm speaking about is the millennial reign of Hamashiach. It's only 7 plagues away from this point of time. There are 21 plagues. Now they're down to 7 plagues. So let us consider deeply what the ending of time will mean on the earth and for its inhabitants, including the northern kingdom. In previous studies, I have spoken about this event that will take place, but only slightly. So in other videos, I kind of touched on what is going to happen at the very end of the age, the 6,000th year, the 120th Yahweh, those kind of things. All right. But the fullness of the revelation did not come until I started studying this chapter. All right. And this is how Alahayam works. He gives you a little, and he builds on what he gives to you. Because revelation is a very powerful thing. He's not going to drop revelation like an atomic bomb on top of you. He's going to give it to you in manageable portions. And he's just going to add to it to build the knowledge, building your understanding at the same time. So now let us address this phenomenon. We know that time exists only beneath the dome, and time is governed by the sun traversing across the first heaven. Night comes when the sun goes down. Darkness descends upon the earth, and the moon takes her place until she too goes down, then the sun rises again. This has been the order of the celestial bodies since Adam and Hawa left the Garden of Eden. Time is needed to help us to pass the time, quote unquote. Before we are redeemed to Ha'aba, in order to return to the Garden of Eden, in order to return to his kingdom. Without the process of time, the events of the end times would not occur, and we will be lost forever. Therefore, the progression of time is crucial to our redemption. In order for time to cease, the sun will be affected as well as the moon. That's why in the fourth trumpet, the sun was smitten as well as the moon and the stars. The sun must stop his traversing across the first heaven and remain still, and so will the moon. What will occur on the earth will be a perpetual day. Hello, a perpetual day. No more night. Remember, the earth is one landmass at this point of time, and its size will also diminish due to the earthquakes. Islands fleeing away, so mountains coming down, and the land is being pieced together like a jigsaw puzzle to be one landmass because of all these earthquakes, starting with seal number 6. The sun will remain shining in this perpetual day, as this will be the conclusion of the last 7 years of the end times, the 6,000th year of the earth, the 120th Yawabal, which is the Jubilee, and the 400-year completion of our exile. Now also remember that part of the vial judgment is the sun causing men to cook. Their flesh is going to cook. They're going to break out in boils because the sun is going to be so hot. It's going to scorch them. So the sun will be there. All right? The sun will be there, but it's not moving anymore. So there'll be no more night. However, we know that another part of the vials speaks of darkness that is coming. That is a curse. That is a plague. Remember, Matzarayim, Egypt, was plagued for 3 days with darkness. So when he's ready, he can remove the light and bring darkness so harsh and so hard that they will gnaw their tongues in pain. So he has all this light and he's burning them up, and then the next one of the other vials, we have not reached there yet, he's going to remove the sun and there's going to be darkness. It's going to make them bitter and pain. It's going to be painful for them in the darkness. All right. So now this is what is going to happen in the perpetual day. It will be during this perpetual day that the 7 vials will be poured out, and the only way of knowing time, quote unquote, will be according to the judgments, which are the prophetic events that will be poured out. So now, because there's no more time, the vials will help to tell, and plus the proclamations of the angels will let us know where we are as far as the ending is concerned. But we don't have anything to worry about. The southern kingdom in the third heavens, we don't have anything to worry about. The northern kingdom in our land, they don't have anything to worry about because they're sheltered. They're living in now perpetual light. The light of Allah Hayam, just like us in heaven, in perpetual light, the light of Allah Hayam. The northern kingdom, in the meanwhile, will be in our land, Yashwa'al, where there will be no sun. So they're not going to feel any heat. They're not going to feel any cold. The glory of Allah Hayam will be light in that land like he is in the Garden of Eden, which has no sun or darkness, and also there will be no heat or cold there. The land of Yashwa'al will be the land flowing with milk and honey, richness and sweetness again. And it will also be like the Garden of Eden in every way. In every way it is. In every way how the Garden of Eden is, that's how the land of Yashwa'al will be. So as the southern kingdom is living in the original Garden of Eden in third heaven, so will the northern kingdom be living in a very similar type of garden and experiencing all that we, the southern kingdom, will be experiencing. This will also include the water of life and the tree of life that will be found in the land of Yashraal as well. So they're going to get to eat from the tree of life, and they're going to be able to bathe in the water of life to purge themselves eternally of their sin nature and to be restored to the original, if not upgraded glory that we had but lost. First book of Adam and Hawa, chapter 26, verse 9. Then the word of Allah Hayam came to Adam and said unto him, Adam, regarding the sun, if I were to take it and bring it to you, days, hours, years, and months would all stop, and the covenant I have made with you would never be fulfilled. And you would be deserted and stuck in a perpetual plague, meaning sin, and you would never be saved. Yes, rather bear up long and calm your soul while you still live, night and day, until the fulfillment of the days and the time of my covenant has come. Then I shall come and save you, Adam. So Adam was experiencing nighttime for the first time, and he begged the Father to bring the sun to him so that he will have light always. And the Father said, nope, can't do that. Because if I do that, you'll be stuck in a perpetual plague called sin. But time must roll on so that the time of his covenant will be fulfilled, will be completed, his prophecies will be completed, so that he can bring an end into evil. All right? Yahawasha'o, which is the book of Joshua, chapter 10, verse 12. So now, here's the story about the sun standing still. Then spoke Yahawasha'o, who is Joshua, to Yahweh in the day when Yahweh delivered up the Amorites before Habanai-o Yashraal, the children of Yashraal. And he said in the sight of Yashraal, Sun, stand still upon Gibeon, and you moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is this not written in the book of Yashar, which is Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that Yahweh hearkened unto the voice of a man, for Yahweh fought for Yashraal. So verse 14, there was no day like that before it or after it, because the Father himself is going to cause the sun to stand still, not a man. It was Yahawasha'o who prayed, who cried out to Yahweh and told him to cause the sun to stand still. And no one in history has ever done that, not even Masha. And no one ever will, because this time when the sun is going to stand still, it will be him that will do it. Him, not man. The account of the sun standing still in the book of Yashar is identical with the exception of the following verse. So in Yashar chapter 88, verse 64, there's a slight difference. Yahweh listened to the voice of Yahawasha'o, and the sun stood still in the midst of the heavens, and it stood still 36 moments. It's the only part of it that is not included in the Bible. And the moon also stood still and hurried not to go down a whole day. You may be asking, how do we quantify a moment according to time? As we are given a hint at the end of the sentence, a whole day. We see that a moment has something to do with what makes up a day. Hours make up a day. And according to Allah Hayam's time, 18 hours make a day. Saying that there are 36 moments, these are 36 hours, which will make up 2 days. Because if a day is 18 hours, 2 days will be 36 hours. Therefore, the sun, because remember, 24 hours, those hours were changed. Allah Hayam gave us time 90 minutes in 1 hour, 18 hours in 1 day. All right? So therefore the sun, though technically was up for a day because it didn't move, yet it took the sun 36 hours to traverse the heaven. The first heaven, the one that we can see. However, in the end of time, where there will be no more time, the sun will cease to go down and the remaining judgments will occur according to the will of Allah. So during these 36 hours, that's when the 7 vials are going to be poured out. During these 36 hours. And even when he brings darkness, he's going to temporarily block out the sun. He can do it. He is Allah, the creator. He created the sun. The inhabitants of the earth may feel the torment lasting a very long time, while for those in the heavens and in the land of Yashra'al, it will be a short moment to conclude these judgments. They're only going to take 36 hours, but it's going to be hellish for them. It is vitally important to address this issue of the cessation of time at this moment and how it will affect the earth. For soon we'll be looking at the sealing of the 144,000 saints of the 12 tribes of Yashra'al. To understand the significance behind their sealing, why and how it will occur, we have to understand that time will no longer be of use by Allah, and the only way to calculate the passage of time is through his prophetic events. We know that the prophecy in Revelation tells us that there will be no more time, which helps to support this precept. Revelation chapter 21 verse 22, and I saw no temple therein, for Yahweh Allah Shaddai and the Lamb are the temple of it. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of Allah did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it, and the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. So the whole earth during when the new heaven and the new earth comes, there'll be no need for sun either, or moon, or stars. And this will start from this point onward. Once Allah is finished with the sun, and he has conquered most of our enemies, and taken revenge on them. When he avenged us, all right, then there'll be no need for a sun on the earth, because his son, S-O-N, Hamashiach, will come as king in all his glory. And so will we. And that will be the light on the earth for the full 1,000-year reign and after. Okay. Verse 13 and 14 of Revelation revised, Revelation 12, chapter 12 revised, and the 24 elders who sat before Allah on their seats fell upon their faces and worshipped Allah, saying, We give you thanks, O Yahweh Shaddai, who is and was and is to come, because you have taken to you your great power and have reigned. Now we have discussed early on who these 24 elders are. They are the progenitors of the 12 tribes of Yashra'al and the 12 apostles of Hamashiach. Imagine how elated they will feel that they too will sing praises in anticipation of the end of all evil and the beginning of the reign of Allah and Hamashiach. These 24 elders are our people who will be waiting like the southern kingdom for the final turn of events. Verse 15, and the nations were angry, and your wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that you should give reward unto your servants the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear your name, small and great, and should destroy them which destroyed the earth. So his wrath will be the last 7 judgments, which are the vials. Now the wrath, I keep repeating myself. The wrath of Allah Hayam will begin with the 7 vials of judgment to be poured out upon the earth in quick succession. Then the next order of events will be to judge the righteous dead to give them their reward. Now this is not the white throne judgment. No. The white throne judgment will occur after the millennial reign of Hamashiach, after the 1,000 years reign, and then there will be the white throne judgment. These souls that will be rewarded are those in paradise and under the altar in the throne room of Allah Hayam. These are the ones that will receive the resurrection to life, to live and reign with Hamashiach for his 1,000-year reign on the earth as Malak, as king. After the 1,000-year reign of Hamashiach, there will be the white throne judgment of the dead, where those whose name is not written in the Lamb's book of life will be cast into the lake of fire, which is the second death. These are the sequence of events that are outlined in verse 15. Now notice that already it was revealed to Yawachanan the judgments of the saints, although the 7 vials have not been opened as yet. This is because the opening of the 7 vials will occur during the perpetual day, and therefore the saints will be getting ready at this time of the 7th trumpet to receive the reward of the resurrection of life. Verse 16, and the temple of Allah Hayam was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail. So the lightnings and the voices and the thunderings, those are all angels. Okay. It will be at this time that the northern kingdom will arrive in our land, Yashrael, at the sounding of the 7th trumpet, with the voices and the lightning, the thunderings, and an earthquake and great hail. At the ending of each 7th judgment, whether seals, trumpets, or vials, we see the same heavenly proclamation with the lightnings and thunderings, voices, and an earthquake as well. This is because as each batch of 6 judgments are completed, the 7th judgment becomes a heavenly commotion that will be felt on the earth with an earthquake. The last earthquake after the sixth vial seemed to do the most damage out of all the earthquakes that will occur during these judgments. Nevertheless, with each 7th judgment, heaven is celebrating that the time for evil will soon be eternally vanquished, and finally righteousness will reign forever. So it's only a matter of 36 hours at this point of time when the 7th trumpet is sounded. And so those souls under the altar and those in paradise, they're getting ready to receive their reward, because in 36 hours. All right, remember, Allah Hayam can still keep his time. Yes, time has stopped because there's no more sun, but he's not keeping record. He's the one that's going to determine when the sun stops, when he's going to bring darkness, when he's going to release his vials. But he already told us how long it's going to last, 36 hours, according to his time. Actually, it's one day, but it's going to be 36 hours in that one day. All right, because the sun is not going to move for 36 hours. And that's why everything is going to come to an end. Even the seven vials will come to an end in that one day. It's hard to imagine, but this is Allah Hayam. If it was easy to understand, we all will be walking in the straight and narrow way. We need Ruach HaKodesh to help us to understand these precepts. We do. Now, I'll repeat this again. This will also bring to conclusion the end of the last 7 years on the earth. the 120th Yahweh, the 400-year prophecy given to Abraham, because the northern kingdom have made it into our land, and it ends with them. The 400 years ends with them. It does not end with the southern kingdom. It ends with the northern kingdom. So those people that are telling you about the year 1619 or 1618, and you count 400 years and it's supposed to be 2018 or 2019 when we're supposed to be free, that's a lie. It's a lie. All right? And also what comes to conclusion? The 6,000th year of the earth. Yet there are 7 more vials to go, and they will not take long to be completed. We know that's only going to be a day. Only a day. 36 hours. 36 hours squished in that one day. And that's why, and because it's going to be so much torment, it's going to feel like 36 years. But it's going to be short for us. All right. So with that, I'm going to read. That's the ending of chapter 12. It's an amazing study. Amazing, 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 amazing study. It is Debarayam chapter 6, verse 24 to 26. The blessing for Yashwa'al. Ya Barakat Yahweh wa Ya Shamarak. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Ya Ar Yahweh panayo alayak wa Yahanak. May Yahweh cause his face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'a Yahweh panayo alayak wa yasham lak shalawam. And may Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you peace. Shalawam. And I say to you, Shalawam, Shalawam. All praises to the Most High. Abba Yah.